Hello. I believe I can be heard over the audio or over the song, the music. I hope so. Yeah, I've decided to take up YouTube streaming because I don't know. Fuck Twitch, I guess. I don't know. Fuck YouTube too, but I decided to do something a little different this time. I did do a YouTube stream earlier in the month. Yeah, it went fine for the most part. So, figured try it again. Alright. By the way, the music that's been playing has been Ace Attorney music. Unfortunately, on Spotify, the way it's they do not have the like an English written out version of the song names or the artist names. So if you know Japanese, then you'll know what all these songs are called. It's not gonna be just Ace Attorney music though. I tried to put a mix of things that came out from this year, but it just so happened when I hit shuffle, it was a mix of, it was mainly Ace Attorney at the top. So there you go. All right, let's get started. I'm so excited for this. I've been looking forward to doing this. It was an idea that I came up with about a couple weeks ago, at least to do this stream, and then some other ideas kind of came to fruition. I was just like, oh, yes, let's do all of this. Let's just do all of this for like a couple hours on like the last day before New Year's Eve. So what we're gonna do is we got two things going on, but to the overall encompassing thing that I am going to be doing is just talking about my favorite 2024 games. You know, there's a lot of great games that came out this year. I feel like this is one of my favorite game years that have happened in at least in recent times. I think this is up there with 2022 for me, of like, oh man, I like so much. So it has encouraged me to want to really celebrate that by kind of crafting a top 20 live on live stream. And so that's going to be one part of the stream, and the other part of the stream is going to be an awards section. And the awards where it was an idea that I came up with pretty last minute, like not last minute, but like, I don't know, a week ago, 10 days ago, whatever. And I had I decided that I wanted to get ideas from my friends on awards without them knowing what games I'm going to be talking about. And they came up with some great ideas. I'll just leave it there. And so we have 14 awards to give out. And so essentially what's going to happen, just to give you the lay of the land for the stream today, is that in this opening bit, we're going to be taking this list of 53 games, and we're going to make it a list of 40 games. So we're going to basically be cutting 13 games from this list. Then we're going to take a break from this and shift over to the awards. We're going to give out 7 awards. Then we'll come back to this and then break down this further into a top 20. Then we'll finish up giving out the awards. And then at the end of the stream, we're going to rank all 20 games and crown our game of the year. I'm just gonna be real. Like, I'm not gonna add on the suspense here. It's the game of the year is gonna be either Astrobot or Balatro. So we're not gonna really talk about those games until like the very end. I'm gonna try to give room for everything else, but I'm gonna just be real. It's gonna be one of those two games that gets game of the year for me. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we could just get started, right? I got nothing else better to do. Yeah, so the first little bit here that we're going to do, and the mysterious catacombs music begins. This is from, it actually doesn't, I wish it said the album name instead of the artist name necessarily. Well, I wish it said all three, but at least the software I'm using to have the song tiles come up is not showing it. But this is from Pinball Spire, a very good game. Right here. All right, so we are going to start by looking at this list and cutting 13 games that we do not think and I should go into more detail. These are 53 games that I played and beat this year, that came out this year specifically. I'm not like, I played the Professor Layton series this year. I'm not including any of those games. I played Papers, Please and beat that for the first time this year, not including that because those are older games. This is all games that came out this year, have a 2024 release date, and it's every single one. So there are some games in here that I don't like, and I'm gonna probably get rid of those first, and that's gonna be the focus of this first segment. We're gonna start off negative and then build up to positive. Is essentially how we're gonna go. So yeah, I think without any further ado, let's just dive in. The first game I'm going to talk about here that I'm going to get rid of is this game called Arranger, a role puzzling adventure game. This has been on quite a few like top 10, 15 lists that I've seen as like a underrated gem that people have been saying like, oh man, this game's really neat, and people should check it out. And listen, I love my indie games. There's a ton of indie games on this list. It's primarily indie games on this list. I don't like shitting on indie games. I don't really want to be mean about them. I particularly did not like this game. It wasn't too difficult. It wasn't difficulty that was the concern for me. The thing that annoyed me about it was that, as cool of an idea as it is, and to go into more further detail, this game is set up where the world is kind of laid out kind of like in a grid-like pattern, and you move around the world as if you are like on a Rubik's Cube. So like as you move horizontal, you're moving the world left and right, and as you're moving on a column, you're moving the world up and down. Really neat, or at least moving that column or row in that direction. Really, really neat idea. And I think overall, the gameplay in this is good. I don't think I was particularly in love with it, though. I don't think I really enjoyed my time with it because of that. And I think because of that, a lot of other things that annoyed me about this game really came to the surface. The writing in this game, and it sucks because this is the same writer that wrote Carto, which was an indie game from a couple years ago that I played and loved. The writing in this game I did not enjoy. And, oh boy, this is a depressing ass song to have come up. Why did I add this to the playlist? Very good song from the Starting Neos, but I might skip this one. This is Yellow Taxi goes for that game. Yeah, I don't know. The writing in this game was just not good, and I really wanted to like it, and it had a charm to it, but like they used BFF unironically in the year of our Lord 2024. I can't, like, there's just something about it that I just did not enjoy. I appreciate what they were trying to go for, and I'm excited to see what they do next, but for now we're eliminating that from contention. All right, let's talk about click holding. Fucking love it, indie games. All right, so, for those who may or may not know, Strange Scaffold is one of the greatest indie studios out there right now. They make games at an absurd rate, but their focus is to make games cheaper and more sustainably, and to make sure that the developers that are working on the games are not, like, grinding themselves to, like, a fucking point. Like, they really, really care about, like, making games in a very sustainable way, and I really appreciate that. So this is maybe their like token experimental game for the year. The kerning on click holding has to be intentional. Oh, 100%. Yeah. So last year, like they have one of these experimental games every single year. They have like a big game that they release that's like really high quality. Like this year was I Am Your Beast, which I didn't play, but I've heard great things about. Last year was El Paso Elsewhere, which I think was like critically acclaimed. But they have an experimental game every single year as well. Sunshine Shuffle was last year, and I fucking love that game. It was basically like a poker game where you're playing poker with dogs, but the dogs just happen to be former bank robbers, and they tell you about their story. It's great. I highly recommend that game. Click Holding, though, is a game where you're in a hotel room with a man wearing a hood, and he has a gun, and he tells you to click on this little clicker, and he tells you to click until he is satisfied. It's fucking weird, as you can imagine. Surprise, this game's weird. And when I saw this concept, I was like sold, because I'm very into weird shit from Strange Scaffold. It's not that I did not like this game. I, again, appreciate the concept a lot. I just am like, okay. Like, it reached its ending point, and it was very intense. And it was kind of psychological horror-y as well. Yeah, we'll just get rid of it, though, because I think compared to everything else that came out this year, I don't like it as much as other things, so we'll just get rid of it. Alright. What's the next easy one to cut? Let's talk about Garden Trills. Very cute game, cute concept of a game where you play as a little bird. You play as a little bird with you're moved to a new garden with your parents, and you are tasked with basically helping out the neighbors. And the main mechanic of this game is that you are growing flowers, and those flowers are basically used to help platform around a garden. And I actually had a pretty good time with this game. But I didn't. At the end of the day, it was fun, but it wasn't like the most amazing thing that I've played either. I feel like we just heard this song. Sorry, I'm good. All right, here we go. We've got some good Astrobach in this here. Yeah. So I like the concept, but I think we'll cut that as our number 3. I have to keep track in my head about how many we've cut. I can actually check on the bottom, like, so we're down to 50 right now. I actually passed the Crush House. Let me return to it because I'm gonna cut this one as well. Crush House is a reality TV game. You are a cameraman for reality TV, and your job is to film the contestants and film the environment in order to satiate the audience. And every single day is kind of considered its own like round where you are tasked with filming certain things in order to please the audience. Really fun concept. I actually genuinely love the gameplay loop in this game. The problem for me came in the fact that it was a highly unsatisfying conclusion. And I think just other things just made it not super interesting. Like the fact that like each individual that comes that is in the reality show when they come through, they kind of all have like a similar personality. There's not really much difference between all the different contestants ultimately. There's maybe some like idea here and there that there's some difference here and there, but like it's really like they're all kind of just like the carbon copy, like, oh, I'm on reality TV. Some come out with like being a little bit more sweet and timid, others are more out there and like very bubbly and very they do try to differentiate the contestants a little bit. And by the way, the reality show is just like it's just a dating show. It's just like nothing like the reality aspect of it is just them living in a house together and you know what relationships unfold. But it's not. I think this game had a potential to be a lot more interesting than it ended up being, and I was ultimately disappointed with it. But really love it though. I really love the Devolver takes these swings. This is from Devolver Digital, at least the publisher. I love that they take these swings with like experimental games like this, but it just didn't quite work for me. All right. Uh. All right. This is a good one. Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Nintendo. This is gonna be a theme for this year, for this list. Nintendo just didn't really have that strong of a year, and that's okay. You know, companies just have their good years, they have their bad years. This was just a particularly just not that interesting year for Nintendo. I think all sights are set on the eventual launch of the Switch 2 whenever the fuck that happens. I don't really care. It's, you know, I have so much shit that I can play. Like I like the Switch 2 is just gonna be a thing that gets announced, and I'm gonna be like, oh yay! But I don't care. Like before that point, I don't care. Like it's whatever. We do not need to go into it. But yeah, so this year wasn't particularly great for them, and one of the games that they made was a re-release of Mario vs. Donkey Kong. And I grew up with Mario vs. Donkey Kong, had a good time with it, did not ever end up beating it. And then with the re-release, I was like, okay, this is my time to actually like play through the whole game and beat it. And I think what I just found was it's okay. It's an okay game. It has very fun puzzle platforming mechanics, and it's a good time. But like, I think what my bummer is that they did make some new levels for this remake, and the new levels were much better than the regular levels, and it made me kind of like, I don't know, I kind of wish that we just made a sequel to Mario vs. Donkey Kong instead of do a remake. I mean, it's easier for them to just make a remake, but I don't know. It's just something that, for me, I was kind of lamenting about this game. So overall, not gonna make the list. All right, so that's 5. Let's talk Penny's Big Breakaway. So this is the former Sonic Mania devs who decided to make a 3D platformer. There's a lot that I do like about this game. Love the art style, love the music. There were some levels that I played it back in like February, so forgive me for if I don't remember everything. I do remember some levels being very fun, but I think my frustration with this game made me not enjoy it. This one, I think, is definitely more of a difficulty thing for me. Very much, and this is, it's a Sonic devs, right? So I do not love momentum-based platforming. It's very difficult. I mean, I guess it depends on the game, but it is very hard for me to wrap my mind around that and to like understand the speed that I'm going at and know when to slow down. And it made it very hard to play this game overall. I'm glad I beat it, but it was that, and combined with the fact that there were some bugginess with this game as well when I played it, that I ultimately did not have a good time with it. But I gotta say, I'm really surprised. I feel like no one's talked about this game since. I felt like this was such a big deal when it was announced, and I haven't heard much since. I hope it's a bigger deal to other people than it is to me. I hope it's actually a success, because I do care about 3D platformers doing well. I want more 3D platformers. They are the best genre, in my opinion, or at least one of my favorite genres. So, yeah, but just for me, did not quite hit the mark. Speaking of not hitting the mark, Princess Peach Showtime. What a bummer, man. I was really, really, really looking forward to this game. One of my most anticipated games coming into the year. I mean, really cool concept of it being like all the levels take place on a stage play, and each level is different from the next based off of the outfit that Peach is wearing, essentially. There's some that are more combat focused, and there's like cooking mini games for if you're dressed up as a chef, or I don't know. There's like the detective sections where it's very much low key, not as fast paced, and you're just going around finding clues and stuff. I think for me, why this game didn't work is that I think it was very simple, which granted is not necessarily a knock, because like it's a game for children, so, or at least tailored to children. But I just wish that Nintendo has done a very good job generally when they make their games to make things that are both fun for children and adults. I feel like this game is probably fun for children, not so much for adults. And when I play this game, I just tend to just find it to be a bit on the boring side, and just a little too mind-numbingly easy. And with some like also peaks of frustration. I think I remember like the cookie mini games having like moments of just like, how the fuck was I supposed to do this quicker or whatever, like just really just a shame. I feel like it had a lot of potential to be something really substantial, really something that could be fun and memorable, and like give Princess Peach like a chance to actually shine in her own game. And I think overall, like, I don't know, like the final boss for this game actually is pretty good, and I wish that the rest of the game was better, so that way that moment could really shine, and then this game could really shine, and people would be talking about it more. It's just like, I don't know, it's such a bummer to me, because I really feel like this game had so much potential, and I feel like kind of squandered it. But maybe I'm just not the target audience for it. I don't know. It's one to think about for sure. Let's talk about some goodbyes we made. Very fun like mini game collection that is actually about like one developer kind of talking about their life essentially, but more so discussing like the different moments in our life that we have to say goodbye to someone or something, like moving out, or graduating from high school, or just going on a trip and saying goodbye to someone, you know, or of course death, right? Like there's many times that we say goodbye to things, and this is a minigame collection that I think does actually a pretty good job of that. For me, it just didn't completely stay with me, and there wasn't a lot that was super memorable from it. But I think it's a really neat concept. I do want to shout it out. It's just not going to make the top 20 by any stretch. But I really recommend it for people who just want like a short little thing that is very experimental, and just neat. I like it. All right, so we're down to, I think we're down to 45. Is that accurate? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Okay, so we're down to 45. So we have 5 more to cut. That's actually makes me feel good. Let's start with Surmount. Surmount. Where do I want to start with this? We're actually listening to Surmount music right now as I'm talking about this. Great music in this game. Love the art style. I hated the game. I hated the gameplay so much. Very frustrating. Even with some like accessibility things, just really not fun to play. I did push through because I did find the game so charming. But it's extremely difficult, very physics based, very like, which I tend to I tend to really like physics based platformers too. Like I don't mind if a game is a little jank, and like a little like hard to grasp. And I think, I don't know, I think overall, I think the reason why I ended up pushing through was that there was a part of it that was fun to me. But man, it was also just so frustrating. Especially there is moments like, this has vibes of like, what's that game? Bennett Foddy's Getting Over It. It has vibes of like that, where one misstep and you get sent all the way back down to the bottom of a level, and it's just like, when that happens, it literally just, like, it tore me. Like, I was just like, oh my god, this is insane. This is insane. I don't want to do this. Come on. And that's kind of why I have to cut it here, just because I can't speak to it further. Like, it's like I can't like, I don't love it enough to keep it around here, so we're good. Alright. We reached the bottom of the list, and we have only 4 more cuts, which actually is pretty good. It makes me feel good. but it sucks because I really like all the games that are left. Let me start cutting some like really shorter experiences. Let's start with Happy Birthday with Sergio Spellbound. This is essentially a Steam game that you can gift to someone on their birthday and have them experience essentially a interactive birthday card that also is kind of sinister and is really, really silly. I enjoyed my time with this. I actually did not get gifted this. I just played it because I was just like, I like the concept of this. I want to check it out. And I did. I ultimately really like the concept of it. But it's so short and so like not the biggest thing in the world. And I'm just gonna cut it here because there's no way it's gonna make my top 20. Oh man, that guitar. Oh, I skipped over Naiad in my initial cuts. I should have zeroed in on that because I did not love Naiad. This is a game where you are a little mermaid, and you are swimming around in bodies of water and helping out creatures be reunited. And it's very linear, so it's all you're basically doing is just experiencing the game. There is like some puzzle elements here and there. I just did not. This game felt extremely repetitive. It felt like it was doing like a thing that a lot of games do, which is kind of talking about the environment, right, and climate change and things like that. And I totally respect and I love when games do talk about things that are like more politically charged. But Naiad, I think its biggest problem was that it really was not saying anything substantial. It was just like humans bad, and that's kind of it. And it's just kind of like, okay, sure. And then on top of that, the gameplay just ultimately, I thought the gameplay was going to feel a lot better because you're swimming around in water and you think like that, oh, that's going to feel really nice, and it just ultimately didn't. So yeah, I'm gonna close out of that. All right, two more cuts for this round. All right, let's start with Moida Mansion. This is a game that was that got uploaded on itch.io by one Lucas Pope, who we're going to talk about later in deeper detail. But this is a game where you are essentially you go into a mansion and you're trying to find your friends. And the ultimate goal of the game is to find the friends and then find your pet turtle as well. Really cute, and it's all done on this like, you know, like those old handheld devices that like, man, I guess I could show it. Well, or I could I click on it? You know what? Never mind. It's not worth it. But it's like those old handheld devices that like had like every single part of the screen, if it lit up, like looked like a conglomerate of things. But it's like instead it's just like has certain things lit up at one time to have it be like, here is the living room, here is the basement, here is the kitchen, and here's like and like essentially you're just kind of like maneuvering around the mansion using a virtual gamepad to then like click on things and interact with them, so that way you can find your friends and then move on. Really cool concept, and I really recommend, like, that is actually one that I think would be my first, like, you should go out and play this. I think that it is really, really cool, like, especially if you do like those like old gaming handhelds like that. I wish I could think of like the better name for it. I don't know. I'm not gonna come up with it right now. But Moida Mansion on itch.io. Check it out. It is free to play. It's very good. It's a good time. But will not make my top 20. All right. One more cut. suck. This is gonna suck, this cut. Whatever it is. You know what? I think I have 2 games I'm looking at right now. 3 games I'm looking at right now, actually. Okay. I am gonna cut the Plucky Squire. The further I get from that game, the more I feel like that game didn't really end up living up to its potential. I really was excited for this game because it was this, you were this hero inside of a storybook, and you play on the storybook, but then you could pop out of the storybook, and you can do, like, levels and stuff. Really, really cool concept. I think the way it was structured, I did not expect it to be as linear as it was, and I think part of that was partially why it didn't end up working, but it also just, in general, was just not very memorable. There's maybe one moment in the game where, like, I don't know, there's, like, a penguin guy that I fell in love with, and that was maybe, like, my only memory from that game. The art's incredible, though. Like, it's really good looking, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna cut Plucky Squire. It just didn't quite live up to potential there. All right, we're down to 40. We're gonna take a break, and we're gonna give out awards here. Let's see. I hope this works. Yeah, there you go. Welcome to Fluffy Cloud Gamers 2024 Cloudsourcing Awards. Please laugh. Because I crowdsourced the name of the awards. Anyways, whatever. We're gonna start out by giving out 7 different awards. This was again a fun concept that I did where I gave my friends the prompt of, can you give me a stupid award name, like a award to give out to things, and my friends came through. So let's go ahead and get started. So, starting out with the most useful superpower, given by my friend Walsh. Walsh has actually provided 4 of these awards, I believe. So this is one of them. The nominees are Children of the Sun, The Plucky Squire, and Starstruck Hands of Time. Children of the Sun has the ability where you can, like, after you shoot something, you can slow down time and direct a bullet into a certain direction. Or, wait, what was it? No, I'm sorry. You could use 1 bullet to kill, like, 7 things. And so, like, you could shoot someone, and then then you could redirect that bullet into another direction, and then fire it into someone else, and then redirect it and fire it into someone else. It's really morbid. And listen, I'm not at all saying that I would use this, but it certainly was useful for that character. All right, that's all I'm saying. Plucky Squire, we just talked about, so, like, that 2D jumping into 3D, like, the idea that you could jump into a storybook, or onto anything, anything that's 2D that you could jump into, and then jump out into 3D, I think is really neat. And then there's Starstruck Hands of Time, which has multiple superpowers worth noting. First of all, the fact that you can go back in time and try to change the past. You also have the ability to become a disembodied hand, giant hand that can run around a town and destroy everything. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But those are 2 really useful powers, and that's why Starstruck Hands of Time is the one. Oh fuck, the bandit. This is one of my favorite songs from this year anyway of video games. Anyways, most useful superpower goes to Star Trek Hands of Time. Next up, most pleasing scent. It probably was pleasant scent. Now that I think about it, but whatever. Most pleasing scent given by GoCub711, aka Matt. The nominees are Botany Manor, Garden Trills, Valley Peaks. Well, this is the first of the categories where we have two probably runaways, and then one that I kind of threw in there, where Botany Manor and Garden Trills are both about flowers, and Valley Peaks is more like you're out in the woods in the wilderness, so you get the smell of like the pine trees and things like that. So that's where I'm getting the pleasing smell from there. But Botany Manor, Garden Trails are going to be the focus here because they're both revolving around flowers and growing flowers and things like that. So between these two, I think the thing that's going to be the difference maker here is the fact that Garden Trails, you are out and you are flying around a garden and you are just growing flowers, and that's probably where the pleasing smell comes from. You're out in nature, all that stuff. Botany Manor has the combined aspect of that you're out in nature growing flowers, and the fact that you're in this beautiful manor that probably smells like an old library, and there is actually an old library in there. Like, I bet you the manor just smells so nice in there with all of its flowers and decor, and it's very fancy looking, so I bet it smells good. And then you go outside, and it smells like beautiful nature as well. To me, that is probably the most pleasing scent, therefore Botany Manor is going to win. Best implementation of a vending machine, given and provided by Anthony. Shout out to Anthony. The nominees are Hidden in My Paradise, Little Kitty Big City, and Web Fishing. We're not going to waste our time here, alright? Hidden in My Paradise and Little Kitty Big City, they both got gacha machines. Hidden in My Paradise has, like, a gacha machine where you can get, like, furniture that you could add to scenes in the level editor. Little Kitty Big City, you could use a gacha machine to then get hats. So that's nice. But come on. If you've played Web Fishing this year, this is the best implementation of a vending machine. There's multiple vending machines. There's one that you could get drinks from, and those drinks can help boost your fishing prowess. You also could grow big and small based on some drinks. You also can. There's also a secret vending machine that you can find on the island that gives you a bunch of tools that you can use. Like I think you can get a metal detector from a vending machine, and that can help you dig up things. But there's also scratch-offs in that secret vending machine where you can make a buttload of money off of that, and it's really fun implementation of that. And it's just a really fun added layer into an ultimately like simple game. It's just an added layer that makes it all the more interesting. Fucking love Web Fishing. Fucking love their implementation of a vending machine. Best Dressed Game by Kelsey. Shout out to Kelsey. Nominees are Locomotive, Princess Peach Showtime, and Symphonia. Hard category to pick a winner from this. I think all three are very, very well dressed. Locomotive is a murder mystery, a classic murder mystery that happens on a train, but like you know murder mystery parties, everyone gets really dressed up for that, and that Locomotive kind of gives those vibes to it. Symphonia, you are playing as a violinist, and you have a bunch of different like orchestra people that you interact with, all of them dressed up in suits as if they are playing in an orchestra. It is a gorgeous game. It has a lot of just, even though they're not quite human, I don't think, they are all dressed very fancily. But all that said, the winner of this is going to be Princess Peach Showtime, because Princess Peach just always looks great, and no matter what outfit she is in, the outfits actually really play a key factor into the gameplay, and to me, it is the best dressed game because of that aspect, because literally dressing up is a core aspect of the game. Alright, next up, best NPC to have a picnic with. This was provided by Ace. Shout out to Ace. The nominees are Maya, her Ace Attorney, or Apologize Ace Attorney trilogy. Patty from Great God Grove, or Busy Boy P, for most of the game actually, and then Copybot from Times and Galaxy. Maya's a bit of a cheat code here, I guess, because she's from the original trilogy as well, and there's definitely a lot of good characters in Apollo Justice, but I just was just like, I don't know, Maya's still the best. Maya's like one of my favorite video game characters of all time. But I'm not gonna actually give her the award because I feel like it's kind of cheating that she's even in this category, even though I put her here. But it's fine. To me, she still felt like the best option of the bunch. So it comes down to Busy Boy P and Copybot here. Patty's character is fantastic because, Great God Grove, I don't want to spoil a whole lot, but essentially you get the idea right out of the gate that Busy Boy Pete is just a nice guy who just wants to do good. He's kind of a pushover, but ultimately is just a very lovable character with a little flower in his head. Like, just I love the writing so much in Great God Grove, and they do such a good job of making Patty a very fun character. Most of the time is referred to as just P throughout, and is not given his full name until near the end. Again, this is a little spoilery, but it's not going to ruin the game for those who wants to check it out. And then Copybot from Times of Galaxy, easily one of my favorite characters of the year. Copybot is just doing his job. He's trying to look at writing and make sure that you're not making any mistakes. But he is being a copy editor can be frustrating because the people who do the writing of these articles, they sometimes don't want to listen to you. And he's very timid, but very serious. He takes his job very seriously. He wants to make sure that he gets the mistakes across, but a lot of the times it's undermined by the other writers. But over time, you get to know him, and Times of Galaxy has kind of like a dating-ish kind of gameplay onto it. And you get to kind of build your bond with Copybot, and I got to a point where Copybot ended up being like my closest friend in the entire office, and I absolutely love him, and therefore Copybot from Times of Galaxy is going to win Best NPC to have a picnic with, because I think he's absolutely adorable and does not deserve all the terrible things thrown at him, because he's just trying to do his job as Copybot. Next up, Best Looking Food, once again provided by Walsh. The nominees are Arctic Eggs, Astrobot, Super Monkey Ball, Banana Rumble. Arctic Eggs is all about cooking food, and so there is a lot of delicious food that you are serving, some of which is delicious, other times you're questioning everything. But I think overall, despite the low poly look, I think ultimately they do a good job of providing the most interesting and nice looking food to the table. Then there is Astrobot, which multiple times over they just have such amazing looking things in the game, but particularly food wise, they do a very good job. And finally, Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. They have an entire world, I believe it's called Candy something, Candy Canyon, I want to say the name of the level. That is completely, it's a level that's just made out of food, and that food just looks delicious. It's amazing. All that said, the winner of this category, and probably of many other, way too many things, and listen, you gotta understand. You have to understand. Oh goddamn! I forgot that the ads play. All right, just give me a second. We'll get to it eventually. I can skip. You have to understand how freaking good this looks. Hold on. Like, look at just like the softness of like the icing that you're running through, and the sprinkles that you could like run through. This is a very early on level, and like the cone look, like, I mean, come on. There's just so much. There's just so much delightfulness in how good this looks. This just looks like snow right here, but you get the gist. It's very good. It's very good. All right, here's a category that I threw in there. I decided to do 2 on my own, just because I just was like, oh, I want to spotlight more games in this way. Bear with me. This is called the most Lucas Pope game, and I'm sure anyone who's watching is like, who the fuck is Lucas Pope? Just bear with me. Anyways, he is a game developer that I love dearly. He does a lot of great games, and he is the creator of Papers, Please and Return of the Obra Dinn. Those are both great games. Return of the Obra Dinn is a personal favorite of mine. Love it a lot. So I essentially nominated 3 games. Little Guardsman is essentially a LucasArts lighthearted version of Papers, Please. Very well done. Really great game. I really dig it a lot. But it is at a disadvantage because the other 2 games on this list are actually developed by Lucas Pope. So, sorry, Little Guardsman. We talked about More Dimension already. Mars After Midnight is also a Papers, Please-like. He kind of brought back the same focus. But in this game, you are aliens that are holding, like, focus groups, and you have specific aliens that you're looking for, and so you need to make sure that those aliens that you only allow certain aliens to come in to the group, because then they are the actual customers for these sessions. And this is a game that's only on the Playdate, so if you have a Playdate, that's the only way that you can play this, which is a shame because it's a really good game, and it is truly the most Lucas Pope game, because for many reasons. So Mars After Midnight absolutely rules. I love it a lot. Alright, let's take a break from that and go back to forming our top 20, excuse me. So now we're going to eliminate half of the games on this list and truly solidify our top 20. I'm very excited for this. But I'm so stressed out. I'm doing this to myself, so don't feel bad. I just am like, I have some obvious ones that I'm gonna cut, but then it's gonna get hard. So let's start here. I'm gonna start from the bottom and work my way up. I think I'm gonna start by cutting. Let's actually cut Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. Start out. Great game, but I ultimately don't remember a lot of it. Monkey Ball is just... It's kind of the same thing every single time, but to me, Monkey Ball and Katamari exist in the same mind, where it's like they are so much fun to play, every single new entry, but they're never going to stand out. They're never going to be the things that I, like, look back on and be like, oh my god, what, these are amazing video games. Like, they're great times. They're just great times, but I'm gonna cut Monkey Ball. Starstruck Hands of Time, I feel like had so much potential to it, and I really did love it. I think that it's insanely handcrafted. Like, they literally do a lot of, like, claymation and like, they do a lot of, like, live person animation, like live action animation essentially, but it's with, like, clay statues and things like that. It's so artistically well done. It is a rhythm game meets Katamari, with the Katamari parts not really being that much of the game, but the rhythm parts being a lot more of it, and it's very, like, RPG. It's very reminiscent of, like, Earthbound, in terms of its storytelling, apparently. I liked a lot of this, and I really wanted to really love it. But the problem for me is that it got into this philosophical deep dive that then started to focus on, like, the real-life moon landing and, like, how Nazis were basically part of, like, that the United States hired Nazis to build the rockets that were ultimately sent to the moon. It felt so off and away from, like, what was actually unfolding in the story of Star Trek, which is about, like, kids trying to, like, survive an apocalyptic event. Like, I don't know. It's a wild game. It's a beautiful game. It is a wild game, and I appreciate it so much. Imagine thinking the moon is real. Thanks, Cubs. I'm gonna cut it though. But that's a game that, like, I kind of do recommend. Like, I think that it's worth checking out, even though I didn't love it. I think that a lot of other people will. So there's that. Pepper Grinder. This game was amazing for the first world. And it was, it's basically a drill dozer. Is it drill dozer? Is that what there's a couple of games that people reference with this one. But it's essentially you have this drill and you are basically, like, swimming through dirt and, like, jumping out of it and, like, doing, like, really, really cool 2D platforming things. Like, it's a great 2D platformer for, like, the first world. And then it kind of just doesn't get very good after that. The regular platforming levels are pretty solid. The boss fights are excruciatingly hard. They're excruciatingly, like I really dislike the boss fights in this game, to the point where, like, I had to completely slow down the game in order to have any sort of success in beating it. And it just ended up not being a very fun experience because of that. But really, really good art, really good, like, level design here and there, but we'll ultimately cut it. I'm gonna cut Flock, I think. Flock is a really delightful creature collector game where you're flying around this cute environment and finding all of these creatures of all different variations. They are not normal creatures. They're not, like, regular. It's basically kind of like a bird watching game, weirdly. They're all kind of bird adjacent. Yeah, no, it was a great time. I loved vibing in this world, but it just wasn't, like, it didn't, like, blow my mind. It wasn't like anything that I was like, oh my god, I need to play more of this or anything like that. I played a good amount of it, and I do think it was overall worthwhile. But I compared to everything else on this list, I'm okay with cutting it here. Duck Detective is basically Case of the Golden Idol, but for children. And really silly concepts, really good writing. But I think I had problems with a couple of things. I felt like some of the solutions were a bit obtuse. Not that the Case of the Golden Idol or just the Golden Idol games aren't, like, they don't they definitely have their fair share of, like, obtuse gameplay, puzzle design, but I feel like for a kids game, I feel like they would try to make things be a little bit more straightforward. But I digress. I also just didn't find the story to be as charming as I would have liked. Especially how it ended. I was just kind of like, well, this is weird. That being said, they already announced a sequel, and I think it's coming out next year, and I'm kind of excited for it because I think they could probably learn a lot of lessons and just keep on improving on the game. I really like the concept a lot, and it reminds me, again, it reminds me of the Golden Idol games. It reminds me of the vibes of Frog Detective, Frog Detective is barely a video game, but, like, I adore it with all my heart because it's just silly. It's just stupid and silly. Duck Detective is a little bit more serious, but still has silliness and still very, like, I don't know, has a lot of good things going for it. So this is a cut, but, like, I know that I could see Duck Detective being on, like, my top 10 20 next year. So there is that. Where to go from here? How far we still have like 15 more games to cut, so this is where things are gonna get really hard. I'm gonna cut Valley Peaks. A delightful open world 3D platforming game where you are climbing rocks, climbing mountains, and trying to reach the peaks from different angles. Really cool, but I think overstayed its welcome. There was like a whole part 2 to the game that I felt like wasn't necessary. But like really cool, really fun concept, but and again, I actually did love the game, but not as much as others. It's reaching to the point where I'm like, I love everything on this list, but we're gonna have to start making cuts. Let's cut Lock Digital as well. Good puzzle game. One that it's basically trying to form words, and those words have effect that ultimately you're trying to like you're given like this like crossword type formation, and you're trying to black everything out, and you do that by like highlighting words, and then that will like form like this little like creature here, and that creature will then can blacken more of the crossword. I enjoyed it. It broke my mind. Tease for later. And so, but I not enough for me to keep it around. Locomotive. I really liked Locomotive a lot. But it ran into the LucasArts. It's basically a LucasArts type murder mystery puzzle game type thing. Point and click adventure game. Ranking shit you love is hard. It is. It's hard, but it's fun. I love it. It's a hard process, but it's a good process. And again, I like doing it on video so I can like praise everything, even though I'm gonna cut it. Yeah, but like Locomotive, like super well done. I think it's gonna be. It's definitely not a game I've heard a lot of people talk about since its release, but I think it's worth playing if you enjoy that point and click adventure games. Yeah, I had a good time with it, but I will cut it. Little Kitty Big City, another one that I absolutely loved, but I think ultimately didn't end up doing anything that truly stood out to me. And yeah, I think compared to everything else on this list, I think I'm just gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut Hidden in My Paradise as well. I genuinely mean this when I say this is one of the best hidden object games I've ever played. Like, I felt like it was so... Like, the thing about hidden object games in video game form, like, or hidden object, like, because people know the Where's Waldo books, right? Like, translating that into a video game, there's this need by developers to want to make everything super interactive, and therefore, like, objects that you want to find in a hidden object game end up behind, like, 3 layers of objects because they want you to interact with the environment. Like this this toy ball is hidden inside of a cabinet, and you need to know to open that cabinet in order to find the toy ball. It's extremely annoying. It's bad game design, in my opinion, because there's no hint to open the thing. You just have to try to just do it, and then you find the thing that you find. And Hidden by Paradise does have those things sometimes, but what's brilliant about it is that this whole game takes place inside of a sticker book. So every single object in a scenario, every single one, you could just pick up and move. It's excellent. Like, you could just go in and you could just, like there's a bunch of trees in, like, a forest scenario. You could just move all the trees around. You don't need to keep them in place. It's great. It's like such a... It smooths the brain in a way that it just hits just in the good spots. I really, really like it. It's not going to make my top 20, but if you like hidden object games, try this one out, because I do think that it's much more accessible and I think works a lot better as a hidden object experience compared to other games of its ilk. All right, down to 10 more. We're making progress. I'm gonna cut Grun. Really bizarre video game. One that I think... the person that I think about is Anthony, if he's still watching at all. I feel like this is his type of game, where it's kind of a horror game, but it's really, like, it has, like, this, like, very off-putting vibe to it, where you are basically hired to garden for this person that's away, and your main job is to cut the grass, cut the lawn, cut the hedges, and just take care of everything. But there's these little intricate mysteries that kind of keep on, like, popping up, and a degree to, like, off-putting silliness that's happening, and it's really good. And there's, like, 20 different endings. And, like, a couple days ago, I decided to, like, pull up a guide and go for the best ending, and it was kind of worth it. It was kind of interesting. I don't love it enough to keep it, but I do think it's worth checking out. And I think, Anthony, I see you in the chat, I think this is a game that I think you should check out. It's very good. I love the Terry is a Good Boy music from Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip. I think this Tiny Terry is, I think, a lock for the top 20, by the way. I haven't really pointed those out, but I think it's a lock easily. Yeah, we're about to make some hard cuts here, I think. I'm gonna cut Symphonia. As much as I found it great and I really, really enjoyed my time with it, I think it doesn't, like, I didn't fall in love with it on the level that would be like, oh my god, I need to do everything in this game. Like, I didn't end up doing that. I didn't particularly love the final level either. But really great movement. Art style is amazing. Like, a lot of good in this game, but just not enough to keep it on. I think this is a good time to cut Little Guardsman. I mentioned it earlier. It's basically still, once again, going back to that point-and-click adventure, LucasArts thing, but make it Papers, Please. Very silly game. Delightful game. With some twists and turns here and there. I think overall I didn't end up loving the story, but I did dig the main gameplay loop of like being the guard and choosing to keep people out or in or whatever. So very good. I think the thing that kind of, I'm actually gonna skip this one. I think skip this song. Yeah, I think Little Guardsman like lost its luster a bit near the end, where it became, this is slight spoilers, like a strategy game. Like in a weird way, and I was kind of not enjoying it anymore. But until that point, it was a very good game. So we'll get rid of that. All right, Doronko Wanko. This was a part of a batch of free Bandai Namco games that were like experimental games for like some of the newer developers within Doronko Wanko, a nickname for Barnaby. Absolutely, Kels. This was like one of the like, experimental games that came out of Bandai Namco, which I thought was really cool. Like I love that they're like, hey, our newer developers did these game jams. We're releasing them for free for people to try out. That's awesome. Like that rules so hard. I really recommend checking out Doronko Wanko. It's essentially like Untitled Goose Game, but as a dog, but you're just running around wreaking havoc. That's really the gist of it. You're like, there is like a checklist thing that you're doing as well. It's awesome. It's really good, but not enough to keep on the list. When you stumble home from the bar at 3 a.m. and have yourself a Drunko Wanko. Thank you, Kelsey. Yeah, I think the start of EOS is gonna be next. EOS. I think it's EOS. It's probably starting named EOS instead of EOS. I don't know. Like kind of like a escape room-esque game, but it's not like high stakes. It is just you in a room solving puzzles, and then you jump to the next room. And what's cool is that it's very camera focused, where the whole idea of the game is that you are trying to set up a photo, to take a photo, like to like remember, capture a memory or remember something, and in order to do that, you need to like solve puzzles in a room to get objects that then, and those objects are then used to then set up the photo. It's really well done. The art is incredible, but I think compared to a lot of other stuff on here, does not stick the landing. And we're down to 25. Oh, man. Okay, thanks, Go Cubs. Thanks for tuning in. This sucks. This is when it gets really hard. This is where I begin to negotiate with myself, and I'm like, what do I feel like is worth really spotlighting in my top 20? What do I think is really worthwhile? I'm gonna cut Children of the Sun. And I think the only reason this is getting cut right now is that the vibes are rancid in this game. The gameplay is great. Don't get me wrong. I was describing it earlier, where it's like a strategy puzzle game where you have to you you only can shoot one. You only have one bullet to kill everything. But then when you shoot something and it hits someone, you can then redirect the bullet and then fire it into someone else. And then your goal is just to try to like hit everyone in the map. I really dig it. I think it's like really well done. But I gotta cut it. I think compared to everything else on this list, I don't love it as much. Sorry, I'm like listening to the music and also thinking. I think I got cut Times of Galaxy. I wanted to hold on, hope that I could maybe get it on here, but I think the reason why it's not going to is because when I played the game, it was unfortunately kind of broken to the point where even though I did everything correctly, I got the bad ending. And it was because the game was broken, and I really hurt my experience. I think it's been fixed since then, but I haven't gone back to experience it. And where my save is, I would have to start from like the middle of the game, and that sucks. Like I would not have. The game is long. Like it's a long ass game, not long as in like 20 hours. That's long to me because I play a lot of short games. But that's enough time for me to be like, I gotta just not do this again. But there's a lot broken about the game that I have to make the executive choice to cut. But man, I really dig it. It's to describe it. It's essentially it's a journalism game. You are going out and trying to do stories, and you're trying to find the best way to write the stories. And how you write the stories basically sets the tone for how you do your journalism, and then it has like Mass Effect-esque walking around your spaceship, and because you work for a newspaper that's in a spaceship, and you're going around to different galaxies, but it has like a Mass Effect-esque like walking to different people, and making conversation and building relationships with them, like I was mentioning earlier with Coffee-Bot. Like, you could do that, I think, with, like, most of the characters in the game. It's excellent. It's so good. It's so well done. But I think just got forgotten in the mess of things, and the fact that it did unfortunately get to a point that it was broken. So this song that just came out is from Starstruck. So good. That game is good. Yeah. So Times of Galaxy, unfortunately, go. Oh, man. Okay, I think I have the three I'm gonna cut. I think I have the three I'm gonna cut. Because man, it's gonna kill me though, but I think compared to everything else, I have such strong arguments and feelings for everything else that's on this list. Let's start here. I'm gonna cut Petite Island. I just played this game. This was the last game that I beat for this year. An utterly delightful video game that I think its biggest issue is the fact that it's so stagnant. The island is very stagnant. It has very good animations for the characters, but a lot of the characters that are just walking around the island that are just kind of hanging out, no purpose for the story. You can't interact with them. Only a few of them you can, and I just feel like that's a weird choice. The movement doesn't really feel great, although you can ride, and I'm serious, a banana llama. A llama that is a literal banana. It's amazing. There's so many amazing things about this game, and I really love the story arc in this game. I think they do a good job of closing it out. It's really, really well done. It reminds me of the games that try to be a short hike and Little Gator Game and things like that. But I am gonna cut Petite Island, unfortunately. The next one I think I'm gonna cut is Celeste 64. A very good game that I think overall is I think ultimately, because it's just not like the major like big time video game experience, that I think that's really the only reason I have to cut it, because everything else is just more full out like realized video games in comparison. But man, it's such a good game. They did such a good job with it. It was a game jam that Extremely OK did to make like a 3D platformer version of Celeste, and it is delightful. It's really good, but I will cut it. All right, to give you an idea here of where my mind is at right now. I'm picking between Wilmot Works It Out, Pinball Spire, Egg Squeeze, and I think Completely Stretchy. I think those are the 4 that I'm looking to maybe cut. Everything else, I think I feel good moving on to the top 20. Hold on, maybe I'll throw Patrick Star Game in there as well, as maybe as a potential cut. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to cut the Patrick Star Game. I love that this game exists, but boy, was it not well done. We need a game with they, them pirates. Isn't that Sea of Thieves? Like, I feel like Sea of Thieves, like... I feel like a lot of those pirates you could interpret as being non-binary. But maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, Patrick Star Game is essentially a Goat Simulator, but with Patrick Star. It is not as good as Goat Simulator 3. And as much as I like Goat Simulator 3, that also is not really that good of a game. And Patrick Star Game is just not. It's just not a good game. I enjoy it a lot. I love that it came out. I love that it exists. And I had a good time with it. I platinumed the game. Like, so, like, it's... Those are all things that are... I think a big part of why I stuck with it. Like, it's... And I'm just a sucker for SpongeBob as an IP. Like I will play anything that's SpongeBob related, right? So... But ultimately, I don't think it deserves to be on this list, so... We made our top 20, folks. We did it. Or at the very least, we have our 20 games. We'll come back to ranking them in a second. But for now, we're going to return to awards. Award season. Alright. We're going to close out. This is going to be the last batch of awards to give out. Here we go. Most pleasing sound font. This was provided by Matt. Thank you, Matt. The nominees are Penny's Big Breakaway, Surmount, and Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom. Penny's Big Breakaway had a really good soundtrack. You've heard it a little bit in the background here. And it had, like, in terms of, like, font, sound, and I can't describe this any other way, but you may understand it if you listen to it. There's, like, this squishiness to its soundtrack that's very playful, but also, like, rocks so hard. Like, it's just rock hard. No, but it's so nice. It's so cool. So I really like that. Surmount, you're hearing it right now, has like an Animal Crossing-esque soundtrack. It has a mix of like acoustic guitar, piano, and it has just other little sound effect things that remind me so much of Animal Crossing. So the sound of it just works really well. And then Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom has this really cool mix of like 8-bit music and orchestra. You've heard it a little bit also in the like you've heard all three of these soundtracks at some point in this stream. They're all fantastic. I'm gonna go with my heart though, and I picked Surmount as it, and I'm actually gonna not play the music. You've already heard it. You're hearing it right now. There's something about it that's just so cozy, so nice. I really dig Surmount's sound font. Next up, Most Practical Home. This is by Walsh. The Crush House, Grun, and a star named EOS or EOS. Where would I want to start with this? Yeah, so unfortunately, the star named EOS is definitely going to be the one that was just kind of thrown in here. I don't really it had like cozy rooms in it, but as a home I don't know if it's gonna win this category. But I picked it because there was like cozy, like you a lot of the game, it takes place in your like childhood bedroom, and that's really nice to be in. But that's about it. Surmount sounds more Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom to me. I see where you get that. That specific song that was playing just now, definitely. You know what? Hold on. Maybe I could go back. If I pause the music temporarily. I paused right on the boy. There you go. Like that's the gist of the Surmount soundtrack. Like that was, or at least that to me was the thing that like really was like, oh, this is like Animal Crossing ass fucking music right here. But yeah, no, but I'm with you though. Like I think the one that was playing for sure before that was definitely like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, like walking through a town type. Like the Nintendo is very good at making cozy music. Like they just are very good at making like when you're in like a nice happy area. Yeah, they do well with setting that up. Oops. All right, move forward. Yes, 500% Animal Crossing New Horizons. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. It was New Horizons for sure. All right, so anyways, continuing. The Crush House versus Grun for me. The Crush House is a gorgeous home. It's a huge home with a beautiful pool. The only downside is that there's a bunch of cameras that are following your every move, and it's also on top of like a bed of a bunch of spikes, just to kind of give a vibe. And then there's Grun, which I mentioned there is like horror, unsettling elements of Grun. But if you're just talking about like the environments, you're kind of in like the middle of nowhere, living in a house that has a nice garden right in front of an old church, and you have a nice park nearby and things like that. You have a cornfield nearby. It's like, to me, it's very cozy. Grun has a very cozy home vibe to it, and I think that's, again, coziness is the vibe of the last two categories. Very much that. Animal Crossing, Ash, Fudge, and Mood Music. Can you not? Is there no cursing in this chat? I don't know. I have not done Twitch or YouTube moderation for chats, so I apologize if there's an issue with that. I also probably for next stream I could turn off slow mode, because I'm not. I think I had that on just in case of like there's a spammer that shows up, like. I don't know. We'll move on. All right, most likely to be president. By Kelsey. Rest in peace, Jimmy Carr. Anyways, the nominees for this are Another Crab's Treasure, The Rise of the Golden Idol, and Wilmot Works It Out. So Another Crab's Treasure is... There's a very good argument for all of these. Another Crab's Treasure is very much So this is the game that's like, talks about climate change, right? But it also very much talks about like the need for community support and not just hiding in your shell or home, I guess it would be the metaphor, and staying away from facing the hardships that are going on. It is important for all of us to take action and do something about the terrible things that are going on in the world, whether that is to be going out and fighting those things physically or just in terms of just go hitting the streets and protesting and things like that, or being more of a caregiver, taking care of people that are in need, donating, just being good to one another, like but you just not being complicit in a dying world. And there's something really, really beautiful about that. And Another Crab's Treasure just has one of the best like closing monologues to any video game I've ever played because of that. It's so good. I think to me like that kind of messaging would be like what I'd want out of a leader. Wilmot Works It Out doesn't really have that messaging. It's much more like Wilmot's just a nice guy that likes doing puzzles, but he's very kind to his mailman that comes through, or mailwoman that comes through and delivers the puzzles, and very much keeps to himself, very happy. And also Wilmot as a character is very well known for being an organizer, someone who's very good at keeping things orderly, making sure that things are functioning well. I feel like Wilmot could be good in that role of president. But the category is called most likely to be president. And the dumb fucks in The Rise of the Golden Idol are absolutely the ones that are most likely to get to that position, because they're all horrible human beings that just crave power. And therefore, they are the most likely to be president at the end of the day. So The Rise of the Golden Idol will win for that. Most refreshing beverage by Anthony. Thank you, Anthony. The nominees are Completely Stretchy, Petite Island, and Thank Goodness You're Here. So Completely Stretchy has this goo that you drink or consume, and you become more stretchy, or more ability to stick to things. You become more sticky, and you are able to stick to things and swing around, and the more that you consume, the more that you'll be able to easily jump across things without landing on the ground. So the goo is very refreshing on that front because it boosts you up. Petite Island has a whole segment of the game where where you were creating tea, helping create tea with a fellow person on the island that you were visiting. Unfortunately, the part of that segment involves you accidentally giving that person a laxative, and needing to then come up with a remedy for them. So maybe not quite refreshing, but just it was a standout moment from that game anyway. But the winner of this is going to be Thank Goodness You're Here, and I'm not going to go into detail. I will just say, Milk Shy No More is the moment of one of the moments of the year, and certainly the person at the receiving end of that had of that segment had a very refreshing beverage to close things out. Very, very disturbing game. Least buttons pressed by Walsh. The nominees are Egg Squeeze, Happy Birthday with Sergio Spellbound, and Some Goodbyes We Made. Kind of already talked about the other two already. They're very short games, very straightforward games, not a lot going on in them. So that's why the buttons, press the buttons a lot. But Egg Squeeze is a very interesting game where you are tasked with squeezing an egg, and the goal is to squeeze it for just the right amount of time where you don't break it. And this happens in a series of rounds, essentially, where each time the time that it takes for the egg to break changes, so you just need to kind of hope. It's a game of luck when it all comes down to it. But I really, really loved my experience with this game, hence why it made it to the top 20. And because you are squeezing a lot in that game, you're not really pressing a whole lot of buttons, it's really just that. And to me, I just wanted to give it an award, so there you go. Egg Squeeze gets a least buttons pressed award. Alright, here's one from me. Most mind-breaking game. The nominees are Balatro, Lock Digital, and Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. I already talked about Lock Digital. Definitely being mind-breaking. Balatro I've talked so much about off. I haven't really streamed a lot, but Balatro is just so good. But Balatro has been... I will have a lot to say near the end of the stream. For that, so I'm gonna hold off on that. I'm actually gonna talk about the game that I do think is winning this category, and that is Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. Because this is a game where you're just exploring a mansion and you are given so many puzzles that you don't even know how to come up with a solution until you walk to a different part of the mansion and see a series of things that you're like, oh wait, that's related to this thing that I found in this room. And the whole game is just a one giant puzzle box that you have to solve, and it's so confusing, but it is so satisfying when it all comes together, even though my mind was just mush near the end. Just Simogo is just such an incredible developer. They've made Sayonara Wild Hearts, and then they made this game this year, and they are both two of my favorite games of all time. Just an excellent, excellent video game. And last but not least, Most Likely Hero to Lose a Spelling Bee by Matt. The nominees are Duranko Wenko, or Pomeranian from Duranko Wenko, Patrick Star from SpongeBob SquarePants, the Patrick Star game, and Terry from Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip. Of course, Terry is a child, a silly little kid that just wants to go to space. Pomeranian as well, a dog. And then there's Patrick Star. Everyone wins. It's not, you can't pick between these. It's just not, you can't do it. They all lose. There's multiple losers in the spelling bee, you know. All right. Anyways, we move on. Thank you so much for enjoying the awards with me. But for now, we return to our top 20. And now it is time to rank the top 20. So I feel good about the bottom row. Completely Stretchy, Egg Squeeze, Pinball Spire, Wilmot Works It Out, Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. I think I would go... I think this would be my order. Egg Squeeze is 16, Completely Stretchy 17, Pinball Spire 18, Turnip Boy Robs a Bank 19, Wilmot Works It Out 20. I feel good about that as the order. To talk about some of these games, the ones I haven't really gone into detail with, I already talked about Egg Squeeze. Kind of talked about Completely Stretchy. Yeah, like you are basically a scientist that gets turned into this gooey monster that then can just swing around an island. It's very reminiscent of the game Sledge Life, but a little bit lighthearted. And you are, as much as you are a monstrosity, you are basically surrounded by other humanoid monstrosities. Happy to see Ace Attorney so high. This is right now it's listed in alphabetical order right now. It'll probably move down, but yes, Ace Attorney is just always a great time, and it deserves to be part of the top 20. But thank you for joining, Matt. Yeah, yeah, that bottom row, or I'm sorry, I was talking about Completely Stretchy. So yeah, so that silly game is just very good. Pinball Spire is, kind of like a pinball adventure game where you're trying to navigate the pinball up a spire, as the title would indicate. And man, I'm just a sucker for pinball. Pinball and anything is just so good. It's so nice. Like I just really like pinball, and I think that this game does just a really good job of having fun ways to unlock things, and then be able to navigate up the spire and get to the next portion of it, using the pinball mechanics. Just really satisfying. Just a really satisfying game. I dug it a lot. Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. I really just love the Turnip Boy world, and I'll be real, I think the biggest reason why this game is on the list is because I really love the closing credits song, which we heard earlier, The Bandit. Is just very good. But I like the gameplay of this game as well. It's one of the few games with combat in them that I actually do enjoy. It is just a run around completing tasks for things game, and you are and it's set up like a roguelite, which is cool. But you're not like, and like each room of the bank that you're in changes per run. But the ultimate goal is to beat all the bosses, and then pretty much get down, like get as much money as possible, but then you end up finding out shit about like your dad, and other stuff going on. It's really neat. I enjoy it a lot. If you like simple combat games with fun characters, the writing I think maybe the only bad thing about this game might be its writing, but I personally don't mind it. I think other people kind of get sick and tired of like, oh, I'm a streamer guy, like and parroting streamers and doing stupid things that streamers do, like things like that. Like there's that kind of writing in there that's like a little obnoxious, and I can understand why people don't enjoy that. But I don't know. I enjoy the character designs in this game, which they're just vegetables, let's be real. But like I enjoy the characters, I enjoy the world, and just a fun gameplay loop with great music overall, including, like I said, the credit song at the end. So it's very good. And Wilmot Works It Out, yeah, is a puzzle game. You get these puzzle boxes delivered to you, and sometimes you don't have all the pieces and you have to wait for the next delivery. But the puzzle pieces that you do have, you can assemble the puzzle on the floor of your living room, and then you're hanging up the puzzles in your house in the different rooms that you're in. And it's a really simple puzzle game, but like I just think it has like the best vibes to it. I really had a good time playing the game, and I think if you enjoy like jigsaw puzzles, you'd have a good time with this. Where's Fortnite? I was expecting if like some rando showed up in chat, be like, "Where's Black Myth Wukong?" or whatever the fuck. Like, "Where's Elden Ring?" or whatever the fuck. Like, I'm gonna be like, "Go away, please." This is my space for video games. Thank you, appreciate it. All right. Let's solidify the 11 through 15 range here. I'll say this. I think a couple of locks for the top 10. Thank goodness you're here. Thank goodness you're here is going to be one. Tiny Terry Turbo Trip is another, and so is, I think, Web Fishing. Feel good about these four being in the 11 to 15 range. So now I have to figure out 1 through 11. Or I had to figure out what will be number 11, I should say. What is this from? Oh, it's Pepper Grinder. Yeah, Pepper Grinder had a good soundtrack to it. This is a struggle. I think I'll do Arctic Eggs as my 11. Yeah. Okay. And then from there, in terms of ranking them, I actually, I think this is a good ranking. I feel good about how it looks here. All right, number 15, Super Mario Party Jamboree. I love that Mario Party decided to include a single player mode for once. It's been, I think, since like Mario Party Advance, since there's been like a single player thing. And I know everyone seems to hate Mario Party Advance. I liked it a lot growing up, because it was just you playing mini games on a board game. And Super Mario Party Jamboree was like, basically the way the single player works is that it's a tutorial to all the mini games that are in Mario Party Jamboree, and I think that rules as a concept. And so I really dug it. I love that I could play as Shy Guy throughout the whole thing. I really like it. To me, it was my favorite Nintendo experience this year, and I had a good time. And I think generally, like, I've had an aversion to Mario Party over the years because I don't always love the multiplayer, don't always love the screwing people over type gameplay. It's just not my kind of video game that I don't really enjoy that. But the one thing that Nintendo and the Mario Party devs are just good at are making minigames, and the minigames themselves are just so much fun. And so I really truly have a blast playing it. I had a blast playing Mario Party Jamboree because of that. So Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom is a 3D platformer, very much it's emulating N64 and like maybe Sega Genesis, I guess. Um, but I really like the environments in this game are insane. The exploration's so much fun. The movement is fantastic. Uh, why would YouTube have started me in the middle? I want to do it live. Oh, that's weird. I don't know why that would be the case. Um, but yeah, so Yellow Taxi Ghost Room is just a really well done 3D platformer. I think the only thing I would have against it is that like the end is not like amazing, but like the Yellow Taxi Ghost Room actually does the Mario Odyssey thing where like the last level I think takes place on the moon, which is just really silly that they just emulate that. So, Apologize to Ace Attorney Trilogy. This came out in January. I think this is like might be the earliest released game on this list. A lot of people have their criticisms of these games just because it wasn't the original trilogy, but I think I genuinely liked all three. All three games in this trilogy I really enjoyed. I think that the quality is better in some over others. Like I think that the middle game, Dual Destinies, is maybe the weakest of the three. And maybe the weakest of between this trilogy and the original trilogy. I think Dual Destinies is definitely like the weakest of the series. But that being said, man, I don't know. I really had a good time across the board, and it's just fun to play, like to experience the story with these characters. The character writing in general just always seems to be very good. There's parts that are problematic. Telling this kind of story that is supposed to be somewhat serious, even though it is extremely stupid and silly. There are some problematic moments throughout Ace Attorney that I think plagues it in some ways. But man, I can't get enough of it. I'm always so compelled by what's going on, and I'm so excited to see what stupid twists and turns are gonna happen. Like, it's just good fun. It's just such good fun, and I cannot praise Capcom enough for what a good job they do with these. I really want to play through Great Ace Attorney. I started the first game a couple of times, and I just keep on dropping off of it, but I do want to play through it. I want to play through the Miles Edgeworth investigation games. I'm glad that both of them are accessible and able to be played through Steam. So I'm excited to do it. But yeah, I have a lot of praise for Apologize to Ace Attorney. Like, I think it's really well done. Arctic Eggs is a kind of walking sim game, but you interact with people, and some of them will task you to cook, in which case it becomes a game of balance, where you need to kind of balance an egg on a frying pan, and then flip it in order to cook the other side of it. And then it's not just eggs, you also have to cook, like, bacon, and, like, other food items, as well as, like, a cigarette, and a beer bottle. Like, it gets so bizarre, and the game itself is so bizarre and abstract, and the writing is so out there and weird. Like, it culminates in a series, like a series of tests for you in terms of like you're cooking, and they just keep on giving you more eggs to cook, and you just need to get through that gauntlet in order to beat the game. It's so insane and mind-numbing, but the gameplay is so much fun. I'm a sucker for physics-based things, and like that's the essence of what Arctic Eggs is. I really recommend it for people who like bizarre experiences, because it really fits right in there. Another Crab's Treasure. I've said a lot about this game already, about the messaging and things like that. It also, like, as a Souls-like game, the fact that you can just equip yourself with a gun fucking rule. Like, I just think it's so funny that you could just, that if you decide, no, I don't want to do the Souls-like combat, which I tried and I just couldn't do it after, like, the first boss. Like, I just, it sucks to play. It sucks to do any sort of Souls-like combat. I can't do it. I don't like how it feels. It's a bummer. But equipping the gun and just using the gun to just bulldoze through everything is so fucking funny. But it works so well for the game, and to be able to do that and then experience the entirety of the story, even though the game is meant to be about, like, overcoming a lot of obstacles, and, like, it's like a Souls-like, so you are the whole idea is to try to overcome these bosses. But again, the fact that you could equip a gun and then just one-shot them to death is just is perfect. And the whole like, exploring the world was so much fun. It's just so much of this. Like, I'm just gonna remember my time with Another Crab's Treasure for as long as I live. It's just fantastic. All right, here we go. I think the love for Souls games may be connected to Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah. I don't know, man. I will never get it, but I'm just not someone that likes combat in any game. So I'm obviously, like, I'm very far on the other side of the spectrum on that front. But I also know that there's people who don't mind the combat in games, who also don't like Souls games. A lot of it is just about, just banging your head against the wall, and just trying to, like, get through it. And there's just something that's really satisfying to people of playing a boss over and over and over again and then finally overcoming it. I get it. I have that vibe wherever I play, like, speedrun type levels in, like, platformers, where I just keep on playing that level over and over and over again until I finally overcome it. Like, that's the kind of difficulty that I love and I fight for. But Souls-likes, man, I can't do it. Still love to hear how customizable and accessible that game is. Yeah, it really is. Like, I that's why I appreciate it so much, because it's like the first Souls-like game, it feels like, to actually have that kind of accessibility. Be like, listen, we know the combat's gonna be rough. Here's a gun, and that's great. And it's hilarious because the gun looks so huge on Krill because he wears it like a shell, and it's just. And it's the most insane thing when you're just walking around as the tiny crab that is Krill with a giant Glock. It's just really silly. So I appreciate it a lot. All right, we're ranking. I'm gonna just be quiet for a second and just think about how I wanna rank this. This to me is the biggest debate for me. Is gonna be like, what game's gonna be my game of the year? But I think up until that point, yeah, I think I feel good. I think I feel good with the way this list is right now. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think if I feel strongly in any particular way. Might do that. Yeah. I think that's good. Yeah. All right. I think we leave it there in terms of the 3 through 8. What game here would you say is the best to play with friends? Good question, Matt. I would actually say web fishing, which is number 5 on this list. I mean, it depends on what vibe you want to go for. Because I think if you want something that's a little bit more competitive, probably Mario Party Jamboree, right? Like that's probably like fitting for that. But if you want something that's just kind of chill, you're hanging out with people, web fishing is an utter delight. It is a game where you are, where you just jump into a server where you can make it private or you can jump into a public server if you want, and you just hang out, and you fish. You're filling out a catalog of fish, and your goal is just to fill the whole catalog out of both lake and ocean creatures. But there are added things like you can, like I said, you have different vending machines set up around the island. Some of which add in the element of like I mentioned earlier, but you could get like a metal detector from a vending machine, and you can go around and dig treasure up, and I think you can then sell that treasure to make money, so that way you can purchase better tools for your fishing. And you could also customize your character. You could play as either a cat or a dog, and there's various different customizable options there. But you could just hang out on a server with friends, and all you can do is just fish together. It's super chill, super laid back, and it's one of my favorite. It is my favorite multiplayer experience I've had this year. So that to me is the best. If you're looking for maybe like a single player game that is fun to play with another person, like solving things, I think Lorelei and Laser Eyes, I think, would probably be good to play with a friend because it is extremely complicated. Rise of the Golden Idol, I think, also is cool in terms of like solving a mystery together. Thank Goodness You're Here is, I actually do think it's fun to play with friends because one person could play it, but you both watch as just the most absurd shit transpires. And I think that is extremely satisfying in its own way. So yeah, that's my general recommendation for friends. It would be that group of games. Yeah. So I talked about web fishing. Let's talk about Mars After Midnight. I already talked about it earlier when it was won the Lucas Pope Game Award, but I wanted to shout it out again because it's I got the playdate this year, and it's so far like the only game that I have poured a lot of time into and beaten on the playdate. But it is super good. I really enjoyed playing it. It's worth checking it out if you do have that little gaming device. But if you don't have the playdate, I would at least recommend watching like a YouTube video or something of Mars After Midnight because it's cute. It is very reminiscent of Papers, Please, where you're trying to figure out which aliens to bring into the focus group, and you have the tools in front of you to kind of figure out, like, to try to put two and two together. Like, oh, okay, this is for people who can't do math properly, and you ask them a question, and then they're like, oh, what's like 60 plus 40? And they say 2. It's like, okay, yeah, you come in. Like, it's things like that. That's just it's very good and very satisfying. The Rise of the Golden Idol, mentioned it as it is an absurd murder mystery is part of it, but it is just a general mystery of it is a sequel to The Case of the Golden Idol, but it's set in more modern times, at least more modern than The Case of the Golden Idol. Rise still takes place in like the 70s, 80s type thing, and it's basically how a group of people have possession of the Golden Idol again and are using it for nefarious purposes. And there's some people that had the initial idea of using it for good, but that's not how power works. Unfortunately, the bad people chase power, and that's kind of a lesson that you learn throughout the game. And there's a lot of absurd twists and turns, but really solid puzzle gameplay where you're clicking on a scene, picking up words, and then using those words to fill out like an ad lib or mad lib type puzzle, and just try to fill in the blanks and figure out what's going on. Really satisfying. Thank Goodness You're Here is the comedy game of the year. It is very much based in it's very much British humor. It is very like off the wall, dirty, but also like endlessly like I keep on using the word silly and absurd, but that's really what Thank Goodness You're Here is the embodiment of that. And if you enjoy like experiences where you're just walking around and ridiculous things are happening, Thank Goodness You're Here is one of the best to ever do it on that front. So then there's Great God Grove, a game that is like really like one of the most like surprising story experiences that I've experienced. And I just had such a blast playing through it. Such great character work throughout. Really great characters, really fun gameplay mechanic of having the ability to take people's words and then throw it at other people. And that's how you solve like puzzle solutions. And again, just really absurd again, the word absurd keeps on coming up. I apologize. But really great character work overall. I really fell in love with so many characters in this game, and it was because of how well they are written. And the character designs are great as well. The art style is great. Music is silly and it works very well. It's just a complete package. Just very well done. A story that I could go back to and re-experience and just have equally as good of a time. Really enjoyed Great God Grove. Botany Manor. Or actually, before I move on, Matt, you asked, are you interested in the new Indiana Jones game? I am, and I'm not. I've never watched any of the Indiana Jones films, so I have no connection to Indiana Jones. I think I like the idea of it being first person and it being a game where you run around and punch Nazis and solve puzzles, and you're doing stealthy type things as well. I feel like I would like it if I gave it a try. I think I'm gonna wait till it's on PlayStation. Which I think is gonna be coming. It might be coming like later in 2025. I do want to check it out though, but I'm not super sold on it that I'm like, oh man, I need to play it right now. Even if I wanted to, I would have to play it on PC, and I don't think it would run on my PC, honestly. So I'll wait for PlayStation. But I have some interest in it. I think I will check it out when it comes to other consoles. Movie date where we watch Indiana Jones by the Fireplace. Hey, listen, I'm trying to be better about watching things, so not really. Actually, I haven't really made that much of an effort to watch things lately. But I will. I can. I could. That is definitely on the list. Put it up there with the Spider-Verse movies, right? Or Kelsey has been asking me to watch Greatest Showman. Put it in that category. Like I got a lot of shit that I gotta watch, but I'm down for that. I would not be opposed. All right. Anyways, Botany Manor. So I mentioned Rise of the Golden Idol, Case of the Golden Idol, and another and Return of the Obra Dinn, which I mentioned earlier as well. Botany Manor kind of works like this. This is a very much a logic puzzle game where you are provided with a bunch of different clues, or you find a bunch of different clues in a room or a couple of rooms, and you piece together that you have to then use the clues that were given to you to then grow. Use the you have to use the tool, like the clues given, to figure out how to grow a flower. And all the meanwhile, you're learning about this the person that you're playing as, which is a botanist, a female botanist in the 1800s, who is essentially being undermined, even though she's doing all the work. Her male colleagues are the ones taking full credit for it, and at every turn, like they're like, I think there's one piece where like one like clue that you can find that is like her aunt telling her that she shouldn't be working as a botanist and she should be like a caregiver instead, or rather like you should just go home, have a child, and just be a housewife for the rest of your life. Like that's a better way to live or whatever. And so there's a commentary on feminism as well, and just a commentary on like how fucked it was to try to be successful back then, but even now as a woman in a predominantly male industry. And so you have that great story combined with a great gameplay mechanic, and Botany Manor is what it comes down to, and it's incredibly well done. I really loved playing through it. I had Kelsey play through it as well, and I think it's just one of the, like, it is, to me, it is from here on out, like, this is like games that I would want to see other people play. Like this is like one of those games where I think like you should try it. If you don't think you're gonna like it, I can understand, but maybe just dip your toe into it, because I think there's some really like satisfying puzzle solutions and really great visual moments in terms of seeing the flowers grow, and just really good like story moments as well. We already talked about web fishing, but I cannot praise that game enough. Like, it came out of nowhere in October. It has taken over all of our lives, or at least of my friend group. It's been so much fun to play, and I really want to play more of it. Then Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip. This game is incredible. It is the Simpsons Hit and Run remake that I needed. It is, you play as this little kid named Terry who wants to go to space, and that is the premise. From there, you are just running around the town. You are driving in your little tiny car, even though you're a child again, and you are doing tasks for people. You're doing these various missions, and it's a collectathon as well, which is not quite as much Simpsons Hit and Run, but it is a collectathon platforming Grand Theft Auto like game where you're driving around and just doing stupid things, experiencing stupid things. I just really loved this game. It is incredibly charming. It is so much fun. I look back at the game and I'm like, how could you be this fucking good? Because it ends in the best, most wholesome way. And like I don't know, man. I can't I can't get it out of my head. Like, it's just a truly special game. Northern Laser Eyes I've already gone into, but you are a woman that enters a mansion, and you're really not told a lot of background. You just along the way pick up notes and pick up things that oh man, this song is going so hard right now in the background. You just have so many of these things thrown at you, and you're trying to piece together what exactly is going on here, and you kind of realize what is real about this place, what isn't. Am I real? Is the people that I'm seeing in here real? What is going on? Like, there's just so much mystery and so much build up, and it comes together in a way that, like, I don't know if it answers everything at the end, but it has such a satisfying conclusion that I'm like, it made it all worth it to me. I really had a great time with it, but boy, I needed a guide every once in a while, though, because holy crap, this is one that makes you think. If you really like puzzle games that really challenge you to figure out the answer on your own, you will like this game. It's a very fun puzzle box. And really, just so many cool layers to it too. Like at one point, you're walking around this 3D environment, and at one point you can interact with a computer, and you go into this like 2D game that is also a puzzle of its own right. It's awesome. It's just so well done from a presentation point of view, and it's incredible. It's the fact that it is number 3 on this list is the testament to this year of games, because otherwise it would be my game of the year. But then it comes down to Astrobot versus Balatro for my game of the year. And both of these games have been my obsession since they have come out, or even before they came out, at least in Astrobot's case. I want to start with Balatro, in that this is a game that I played the demo of in early February after hearing about it on the Giant Bombcast, and I was intrigued by it because it's essentially, if you do not know Balatro at this point, it is a poker roguelike where you get a deck of cards, and each round you have a set of cards in front of you, and your goal is to create hands such as pairs, 3 of a kind, full house, all that jazz, and to try to score as much points as possible to beat a blind. The small blind, the big blind, and then the boss blind, which has an extra added layer of difficulty attached to it. And all the while, as you go on, it is a roguelike, so you are trying to go on a run, and that 3 set of blinds, the small blind, big blind, and boss blind, are part of an ante. And there are 8 antes. If you reach the end of the 8th ante and you beat that final boss blind, you win the game. I think I have surpassed 60 wins in this game. And I would not consider myself a roguelike person. I don't think I've ever been that successful with a roguelike. It's insane how many times I have won this game, and have won on different variations of decks too. Like I've tried not to do it. I've not tried to win on the same like deck difficulty combination, but like as you play through, you are building your deck, and you can add cards to the deck. You can get jokers. With the jokers, help add like multipliers and add more chips down, so that way you can gain more points and be more likely to beat a blind. You got planet cards, you got tarot cards, like you have spectral cards, like you have all these different card things that add an extra function to what's going on in the game, and to help you build the most powerful deck possible, so that you can bulldoze through ante 8, and then the game keeps going after you get through the 8th ante. Like you can keep going endlessly until you lose, and that's very fun. It is the most addicting game I have ever played, and I have put 140 something hours into it. It is the most played game on my Steam ever, and I've been playing on Steam since like 2013. I want to say, so for well over a decade, it is my most played game on Steam ever. Like, I adore this game so much. But then there's Astrobot, a game that I have wanted since I played Astra's Playroom in 2021. The Astra's Playroom was a free-to-play, what's the term? It came with the PlayStation 5. It was a game that like you got for free, and you could play through it, and it was this adorable 3D platformer that had like 4 worlds in it, and like 1 boss battle, and it was super cute, super fun, like so many different gameplay elements that they threw in that really made the game a blast to play through. And I was just like, man, I want a full-blown 3D platformer version of this. And they had Team Asobi, who made this game, they had a history of making VR games, And I was like, I don't want them to make a VR game. Like, they made Astrobot's Rescue Mission, which was a 3D platformer on VR that was critically acclaimed. People loved it. But I don't like VR, and I don't like the PlayStation VR, like, as a setup. So I never got around to it. That was a full-blown 3D platformer, but just on VR. But I was like, I want one that is just for the PlayStation 5, no other gimmicks in terms of it being on a VR headset or whatever. Give me just a full-blown 3D platformer. And they announced that thing back in May, at the end of May, and I cried. I cried when I saw that trailer. I was so excited, so happy. And then the game came out in September and just blew every expectation out of the water. This game is endless fun and joy from start to finish. There is not a level that I don't enjoy playing through because it is just so much fun playing as Astrobot. All the different abilities that you can get, how each ability basically has its own level, or it comes up like maybe only a couple of times throughout the whole game. Yo, he's still at it. I know. I'm debating my game of the year. It's just like it's just the last two games. We're almost done. But Astrobot for me is what makes 3D platformers so goddamn special. They are just unbridled, unapologetic joy. And I know everyone gets hung up about the fucking cameos and that, like, oh, it's PlayStation propaganda. Like, okay, yes, I don't disagree, but it's also just done so fucking well. Like, it's propaganda done well. But, like, besides that, like, I understand why people have that critique of it, but I would also argue that them rolling out an Okami bot or a Spyro and Crash bot or a like, I don't know, Mr. Mosquito bot, like, rolling out those are not, to me, isn't as much propaganda, because those, one, PlayStation doesn't own half, like, Crash or Spyro anymore, and two, like, and granted, Okami is coming out with a sequel, so I guess maybe that's maybe that's maybe a wrong one to pull. But, like, this truly felt like a celebration. And the guy, when he went out on stage and talked about, when he talked about this game, he talked about Nintendo, and he made sure to be like, oh, I didn't say Nintendo's name. But he said, like, Nintendo is such a huge inspiration for this kind of game, because it is meant to put fun first, and it's meant to be a celebration of what makes video games so fucking special. And I feel like they do that with the cameos for sure, and like, and I think they do a good job with them. They're not just like surface level. Like, you find the bot and you bring them back to the crash site, but then you can interact with them and they do something very silly that is reference to whatever it is, like Resident Evil or Yakuza or like a lot of third-party stuff. Like, there's a Destiny guy in there. There's a Mass Effect guy in there, I think. Like, there's a lot of different games that are celebrated in this game, and I feel like it's more than just it being a propaganda piece to buy more PlayStation games. But I'm not gonna go too hard against those people, because again, like, I get their point. I understand that it feels a little gross, but I think it's just done so well. I really love it, and the game's attention to detail. The fact that, like, when we watched that clip of you running around the ice cream level, the fact that you can run over every single object, like, that's like a graphics thing, that's like the power of the PlayStation 5 thing, but there's something to be said about, like, how much joy that could bring someone of just, like, running through a bunch of small objects and them going everywhere. Like, literally, the opening level, you can go down a water slide and, like, burst through a tower of like blown up like toys or balls or whatever they are, and there's a joy of you going down the slide and seeing all those toys roll down the slide with you. Like they're just the tiniest little details. The fact that you could go and a big part of the game is saving the different parts of like the PlayStation 5 spaceship, and the fact that you can then, when you rescue them and reinstall them into the console, you can then go and visit them, and they're singing their little like catchphrases to the tune of the Crash Site theme song that is playing, which is a banger. Like, there's just all these little things. It's everything that I love in video games is just embodied into Astrobot, and I think this is like the first time in a while that I think a game of this budget, of this size, in terms of it being a PlayStation first-party game, I think this is the first time a game like this is going to win my Game of the Year. I think it has to be my number one, because I think it embodies everything that I really want in a video game. And I think they crush it out of the park. And I love how simple it is. It's not like it doesn't have. It is really fun to play as a Mario, where you have all the different types of jumps and flips and things that you could do with that. But the Astrobot is much more simple. It reminds me a bit of like Kirby, but like much more platforming focused. In terms of jumping around and things like that. Yeah, it just rules. It just absolutely rules. So, with all that said, I'm going to get rid of this part of the description here. It sounds like there was real love and respect for everything that came before it while also being original. Right. I completely agree. I think that's exactly what they were going for. And again, this is like a small studio within Sony. And it's also a game that unfortunately is like, it's a game that you do have to worry about with like sales numbers. Like, it's not selling a whole lot, unfortunately. But I kind of hope that Sony just doesn't give a shit. Because I think that if you allow this team to just keep on making games like this, like, I think there will be something, like, there's the way you could look at it like a CEO and be like, oh, there's no value here because it's not bringing enough money. But I think there is so much value in what Astrobot brings to the table for PlayStation, because it's not a fucking AAA third-person behind the camera dad game that is about brutality of man and all fucking bullshit. Like, it's no offense. Like, I listen, I love the God of War games. Do not get me wrong. I do appreciate some of the things that PlayStation makes in that sense. But I feel like there's also room for the playful things that can just be video games, that don't have to have a deep story, that don't have to go like be of the highest of quality, super hyper realistic bullshit. Like, we don't have to get there. We don't have to get to that point. Like, for every fucking video game that you make, it's not sustainable. You want to make these smaller experiences. You want to make these things that are much more targeted, rather than try to do things that is going to just have mass appeal every single time, because that's not sustainable. You're going to burn out your developers, and you're not going to end up being able to recoup the cost, because those games take so much money. As far as I know, with Astrobot, that game does not cost that much money, because it's a shorter game, and it is not trying to push the limits of anything. Granted, though, fucking gorgeous game, amazing soundtrack, amazing gameplay. Astrobot's my Game of the Year. So I think that's the gist of it, I think. Well, if you ignore the glasses ad, this is my top 20. To recap: number 20, Wilmot Works It Out. Number 19, Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. Number 18, Pinball Spire. Number 17, Completely Stretchy. Number 16, Egg Squeeze. Number 15, Super Mario Party Jamboree. Number 14, Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom. Number 13, Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy. Number 12, Arctic Eggs. Number 11, Another Crab's Treasure. Number 10, Mars After Midnight. Number 9, The Rise of Golden Idol. Number 8, Thank Goodness You're Here. Number 7, Great God Grove. Number 6, Botany Manor. Number 5, Web Fishing. Number 4, Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip. Number 3, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. Number 2, Balatro. Number 1, Astrobot. We did it. Best games of 2024. It's done. It's over. Well, thank you, Zlul, for helping us see the best games of the year. Yes, thank you. This stream is sponsored by Zlul. Whatever the fuck that is. Anyways, I mean, it's fitting. It's fitting because I wear glasses. That's literally what I was just about to say. Like, as if that means fucking anything. Anyways, I gotta end the stream now. This went a little bit over than what I anticipated, but I appreciate everyone who came out to watch me do this and celebrate the year that was. I am looking forward to 2025 and all the video games that will come. You know, it's been a very rough, interesting year, 2024, and I don't know what 2025 has to offer. I'm hopeful that it is not going to be bad, but we never can predict those things. But you know, we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, as long as I have as you know, as long as we have each other, that's all that matters, and we'll support each other through it all. That's all we can do and all we can prepare for. So thank you all so much for listening and watching, and for all those who provided awards for the awards show. I hope you enjoyed those. I could actually go back from the jump. I wonder if I can start the show from let's see. Can I just jump? Hold on. I can do this. Hold on. I got it. Hold on. Boop. There you go. Yeah, to go through these one more time. Most useful superpower by Walsh, given to Starstruck Hands of Time. Most pleasing send, given to Botany Manor. Best implementation of a vending machine, given to Web Fishing. Best dress game, given to Princess Peach Showtime. Best NPC to have a picnic with, given to Copybot from Times of Galaxy. Best looking food, went to Astrobot. Most Lucas Pope game, given to Mars After Midnight. Most pleasing sound font, given to Surmount. Most practical home, given to Grun. Most likely to be president, given to The Rise of Golden Idol. Most refreshing beverage, given to Thank Goodness You're Here. Least buttons pressed, given to Egg Squeeze. Most mind-breaking game, given to Lorelei and Laser Eyes. And finally, most likely hero to lose a spelling bee. Everyone here loses. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.